God has chosen to uphold everything by the power of his word. The whole universe, he holds it up. He's not just holding everything up. The word, as I explained before, uphold, means not only to pick it up and to hold it stable, but to carry it from one place to another. He carries his word and he carries us. He carries us along from wherever we are when we got started to a godly destination. All we need to do is go along with him on the trip. Okay? He upholds everything. The original, I believe it is the Greek word for that. I'm not going to pronounce it. I'll get it wrong, and you won't remember it. But he carries all things along by the word, the command, the promise that he exerts with his power. That's what he does for us, and that's called his providence. Can you say providence?
Providence.
And as we see isolated events happen in our lives, things that seem unrelated to each other, these things may seem random to you, but they're not random to God. Things happen to us, we use the word, which probably shouldn't even be defined the way it's defined in our society, in our world. We say certain things happen by accident. They are incidents, and on the human plane, we can call them accidents, but there are no what? Accidents with God. There are no what? No accidents with God. Everything is connected and interrelated and employed to bring you to a place, the place where God has in his mind that he wants you to go. Now, don't get the impression that God has ironclad determined everything you're going to do. He certainly knows everything you're going to do, but he is also, because he knew those of you who've accepted Jesus, he knew you would do it, and those who did not, he knew they would not, and he begins to work and enmesh his life, his will, his plan, his purpose within yours. I said, and I'll probably preach a sermon one day on it, David was running from Saul, and he showed up in a town called Ramah. Well, he decided to ask the Lord, is this a safe place for me to be? Will Saul and his men come here, and will he deal with us, hurt us if he comes? The Lord says, yes, he will come, and yes, he will defeat you if you are here. So David, thank God for guidance of the Holy Spirit, gets up, takes off. Well, guess what? What God said was going to happen didn't happen. But God said it was going to happen. God said in the future that will happen. But he said that will happen if you stay. So he knew the future, David's future. He saw every bit of it. He saw every drop of blood that was going to be shed, even though historically this thing never happened. I want you to come along with me. This is not heresy. Come along. That's almost like Nixon saying, I'm not a crook. You might think I'm heretical. I'm really not. Don't ever use something to say you're not that. Say you're something else. All right. But anyway, so God, you don't have to run along with this. You won't go to heaven or go to hell because you believe or disbelieve what I'm saying here. I'm saying if God knew, he knew every possible future. He knows every possible future for you. So don't be saying, oh, what's going to happen anyway. I'm not going to do anything. Just God's going to do whatever he's going to do. No, he gave you a will. He gave you choices. Well, is he playing with me when he gives me choices? He already knows what I'm going to do. Why does he give me a choice if he knows what I'm going to do? Because God is so gracious, he could know, I want to push it. He could know an unlimited number of destinations you would end up if you chose different paths. Hope you're tracking with me. You got to pray with it a little bit. When I first thought this through and heard about it, all right? You don't have to talk about this every day with everybody. People think you're crazy, all right? But that resolves for me God's giving me free will, free. I can choose all, right? And his sovereign will, all right? God has chosen my destiny because I have chosen him. I am just as much written down in the Lamb's Book of Life as if I'm already there looking in the book and seeing it. God, everything I will ever do, I believe, because God is in the future, the present, and the past, all at the same time above the parade, he sees everything I will ever do. And therefore, he has written down everything I will ever do. I don't think it gets written in real time. He already knows. So I will see, but I know that the book is going to be open. I know that much. And he will ask me to give account. Must be going to be a long counseling session. But God lives in a time that's different from mine. He can do it in less time than that, and I can see it all and understand it all and bow down to him when I get before him and give him praise for his mercy for not carrying out certain things on me and his grace for blessing me no matter what, because that's the kind of God he is, all right? He's a providential God. So even the haphazard things, the accidental things, the unrelated things in my life, he has weaved those things all together to get me where he knows in my heart I want to go. All I need to do is trust him on the way. All right? Life can feel raggedy. For some of you, it feels pretty raggedy. All right? Raggedy. They say that in South Carolina? Pretty frayed on the edges. All right? But he's weaving a tapestry together. I am watching. Man, when you get to be my age, you kind of know a few things about how this thing works by now. By now, you don't know everything, but you know something. By the way, first of all, why in the world would you just sit down in a lounge lazy boy chair with all that you know? You need to get out there and share it. There is no verse, promise me. I promise you, there's no verse in the Bible that says 62. That's when you go and sit down. Or 65 or what. There's no verse on retirement in the Bible. That's an American thing more than anything else. They're trying to get you out of the work rolls anyway. But go ahead and do it, because I'm going to one day I'm going to do it. But I'm just trying to take off one set of tires and put on another set. That's what I'm going to do. Keep on going until I leave here. I hope you're planning to do the same thing. Clap if you think that might be a good thing to do. Keep on moving, right? Well, in our message, we are going to find that he leads us in all these things by his providential hand. And he does it for a number of reasons, but he does it. Let me do that text. I believe that's up there first. He upholds the universe by the word of his power, all right? And these are the things he guides us to do. To position you, can you say that? To protect you. To sink you. Let's say all three together. Come on. To position you, to protect you, to sink you. Couldn't think of another word to use as one word. I mean, he's good timing, but how do you write that down in there? So I said to sink you. You guys in this cyber generation, you understand sinking stuff. Let's talk about God's power and his choice to position you in your life. Well, I can think of a whole lot of different texts all over the Bible to show how God positioned somebody, but no better one, at least, that I believe God revealed to me and showed me than in the book of Esther. It records a stirring exhortation at a certain point of crisis that was given to her by her uncle Mordecai. You ever heard of Mordecai? Mordecai was a bad dude, man. He was a Jew living in, as the Jews were spread all over the place, all right? He was in this province with Artaxerxes, right? And he had taken on I think it was his niece, you can help me out with that if I'm wrong, cousin or niece, took her in. Her name was Hadassah, actually. When you go into a new culture, they name you by their names. And it's okay for somebody to name you by their name, just don't live on their terms. You understand that? Daniel was called something different. Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah, all called Shadrach, Meshach, you know those guys, and Abednego. They were named. What they do is they package you and they try to name you and fit you into their culture. All right? And that was what God allowed, or he had, by his sovereignty, caused and allowed when they went into Babylonian captivity. Basically, pray for the place where you are. If you pray for that place, you will prosper if it prospers. And I say you to do that parenthetically for your city. Pray for your nation, all right? No matter who is in leadership, whenever they are, whether you like them or you don't, pray God's best for them. Because if God's best happens for them, God's best will happen. You don't really believe it, but I'll preach it enough times for you to grab it. Keep fooling around, not doing what God said. Go ahead and believe what you want to believe, if you want to. I'm going to pray for any president. I prayed for the ones before this one, praying for this one. Going to pray the ones come after this one, because God commanded it. He said, pray for kings and all of those in authority. Pray for them so that you live a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and honesty. Pray, talk to me about it, and I will take care of you. I will take care of the situation. Well, Mordecai was there. He was a man who prayed. He was a praying man. He would sit almost at the gate of the palace, and he'd throw ashes on himself and put sackcloth on. That was a public display to everybody around that I am in mourning, I am in fasting, and I'm praying. This is a desperate situation, and here I am publicly to show it to you. And the man was very wise, and God began to work some things that looked pretty haphazard. I won't tell the whole story because that's not a part of, all of that is not a part of my message. But one lady by the name of Vashti, or Vashti, Queen Vashti, was called to the king because they were falling down drunk, and he wanted to brag on his pretty wife. And she says, I'm not coming. I'm sure she said, I'm not coming to be humiliated with all these guys, these lecherous guys looking at me. She decided, I'm not coming. That was a bad thing to do. I don't know what finally happened with Vashti, because the Bible doesn't say, other than the fact that he let her go. I have my ideas about what happened. These people, all their pride, you never know. She might have lost her life. But her dignity was more important than her life. Yours should be too. Martin Luther King said there should be some things to you that are greater and more important than your own life. When you live like that, you'll be able to die with dignity. You know, some things have to be greater than your family, greater than living, greater than your house, greater than your job. When they get to that point, you can say, as he said, I'm not afraid. He said, I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. You remember that? He got to that place. Mine eyes, you know what the rest of it says, have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. When you see that glory in you, and you do that by living and obeying him every day, what is in front of you, you do it with all of the might that God gives you and with all the grace that you can ask him and the mercy, and just keep moving forward. Every day, you will see the goodness, the bigness, the hugeness of God. And it makes these other lights dim in comparison. We're all on the road to doing that. That's what they mean by, that's what the song means when it says, arise, shine. That's in the scriptures too. Give God the glory. Give him the glory. All right. Well, Mordecai gave him the glory. Haphazard stuff. The lady decides not to come before the king. He fires her from being his wife. And so they make this big deal about, you need to find the finest woman in the land. And they go and do a campaign, and she was amongst those women. You know the story. And finally, it came all the way down to this one person. And the rule was, you can't come and stand before the king unless he takes the scepter and puts it out. That's some serious megalomania. You know what that is? Megalomania? That's big craziness. Big craziness. You're big, you're so big in your eyes. You're the king. Come and kiss my ring, whatever. There's no wrong kissing rings. Praise the Lord. But wow, I shouldn't have mixed those two together. But he put it out. And she says, if I go before him, he doesn't bring this scepter out, they're going to kill me. I'm going to die. Mordecai said, you better take that chance. You better take that chance. You better take that chance. He exhorted her in a stirring way to consider risking her life. Because in risking her life, she would be an instrument of deliverance for her people, the Jews. One woman strategically placed, doing one thing at a specific time that could bring deliverance for all the Jewish people. God has always tried to wipe out the Jewish people. There's always been a time when the devil, he did wipe out the Jewish people one time. I remember somewhere I read in the desert, he wiped out 2/3 of them. He said he was going to wipe them all out one time. Moses stood in the gap. You remember that? Okay, I ain't completely wrong. I was wrong in this specific situation, though. But he has some grandbabies. Got some grandbabies. Thank you. Yep. Derek, Donovan, and Darren. Praise the Lord. The devil's going to wipe them out. The devil tried to wipe them out. He always tries to wipe them. He's trying to do it now, today, right here in this world. And he knows, because the Bible says if you could kill every one of them, you wipe every Jew, God's plan will not take place. It will never, ever happen. If you pray for anybody, pray for yourself and your family, pray for your nation, and pray for Israel. Because it got a blessing on it. All right. Now, look at Esther chapter 4. First, the second part, actually, of verse 14. Second part of the verse says, this is Mordecai exhorting her, you need to risk your life. And he says, and who knows whether you have not come to the kingdom for such, a time as this. How do you know that your life has not been positioned providentially by God right here, right now, for a time such as this? How do you know that your life has not been positioned in such a way that you are brought to this place in your life, this time in your life, this job in your life, this situation in your life, this challenge, this opportunity in your life for a time such as this? And your future may depend, scratch that, will depend on everything you decide right now. There are some decisions that I have made in my life. I knew if I don't make this choice, if I don't do what God is boiling up in my heart to do right now, I'm going to, 30 years from now, I'm going to look back and say, God, look like you left me behind. There are several times I've done it, and it hurt. It hurt so bad to make the right choice. I don't know how to tell you how much pain there was in my soul when at a certain point God was dealing with me to leave one church and go over to Overcoming by Faith. I loved the people at that church. We loved them. They were family. I was, for God's sake, the assistant pastor. He started dealing with me. That's why I don't get angry with you when you leave here. Heart breaks. I'll get over it. I understand that. That's why free to come, free to go. Don't hide in the lingerie department. Didn't I tell you that? When you see me walking through Dillon, don't go there. I know where that department is because the restroom is, you come in through the west side, I think the west side. The men's restroom's right there. Why they put it behind the lingerie, I don't know. But don't hide because, well, I didn't tell you nothing. Listen, you didn't tell the other one nothing when you left that either. I didn't ask you where you came from when you got here. Who bother you? I love you. God bless you. All right? It ain't about all of that. All right? So there comes a time when you have to, it was so painful. So painful. Some really interesting things were happening. It was clear as day to me. Clear as the day follows night. But I knew it was going to be painful. Actually, a lot of people, more personal note, were crying and stuff. I had to go to a meeting and they were asking me what my plans were in the department I had at the church next year. And I said, oops, didn't know that question was coming up. I should have said something a long time before that. Got wedged in. And I said, I have no plans. And I stood up in front of the church. I said, I have to go. It was terrible. So I tried to call the pastor over and over and over and over. I just couldn't get him. I don't know. God just squeezed me like that. It was terrible. It was absolutely excruciating. I don't know a word for it. God told me beforehand, do not curse this experience. People are going to say really bad things to you, and they're going to say really bad things about you. The very ones who love you. They're going to say it. Do not take it personally. Do not. If they belong to me, this is what he said to my heart. If they belong to me, those moments will recede, and one by one, they will come to you and say, I am sorry. I know God is moving to move you. And one by one. I was called a devil. That hurt, man. I was called a deceiver. They even reached back and say, you Henderson Formy's son. Henderson Formy's son would never do something. What did I do? I did the same thing you did when you left somewhere and came here. Do not curse it. Do not curse this experience. I am wedging something inside of you. I didn't know that God was moving me in order to prepare me to be here. But if I had not lived there, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. The opportunity sprang from the next place. Yes. It was so painful. It was so painful. Oh, God, I tried to say no. My mama will probably tell me this day. So I went to my mama. They say this is church there in Columbia, and talking about me being the pastor. She said, go get it. I said, ma'am? Ma'am? She said, go get it. I said, but it's like 23 people. What's that got to do with anything? It'll grow. Get out of here. I said, my dear. She said, son, you have been holding people's coats all your life. My mother had a way of not blinking. She didn't look away from you. She just did like, I'm going to look at Annette. She's the only one I can look at and handle, staring at, looking at me right back. Boom, you feel me? You feel me staring at it? I know you do. You feel me, right? Yeah. That's how she did me. Did not blink. She said, get out of here. You need to go. I said, but my daddy is sick. You're not doing well. Sandra's mama's, get out. Nothing to hold on to. And it was tough sledding. Great people, marvelous people. But most of them didn't understand quite what I was doing. It sounded different from the last pastor. It felt different. And a couple of them would remind me, well, Pastor Jim didn't do it like that. Well, when Pastor Jim was here, we used to do this. I heard that one time too many. On the fourth time, the leader rose up. And I said, yeah, and he's gone. He did that, and he's gone. He did the best he could, and he's gone. It's almost telling me, hey, you fight in Saul's armor. I can't. I am for me. I'm not petty. I'm not Jim Petty. He's a good man. But he said he couldn't do no more with it. Now, you want me to do what he did, and he couldn't do no more with it. I'm going to get on the radio. Yeah, he tried that too. Well, you told me he did it like that. Now you're telling me when I say I'm going to get on the radio that I shouldn't get on the radio because he got on the radio and it didn't work out. I went, well, okay. They wouldn't give me $400 a month anyway, so I could do whatever I wanted to do. Just kept doing. Do what you are gifted to do. Just do what you're gifted to do. Just keep doing what you're gifted to do. Just keep going.
Thank you.
The pain was palpable, and I won't tell the whole story. There was 23. We had grown up to 70 people by the time a whole group of them just left on me. They didn't just leave the church and go across the street. They didn't even go across town. Them people went to church out of town. They didn't just go out of town. They went out of state. 13 of them went out of state to another city. How the dead has arisen. How the dead has arisen. I'm gonna act like that didn't happen. They slid out. God bless them, they have to do what they got to do. I don't know what I'm saying all this, not on my notes, but somebody needs to hear me, all right? And a pastor came to town, he preached the lights out, and they thought he was amazing. So they wanted to go to his church. That's fine, but that thing sure hurt. That boy hurt bad. God says, now, what you gonna do?
Yes, yes.
I said, Lord, I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do when you called me, because I didn't know them when I came. I came because you told me to come.
Yes, yes.
And I'm gonna, whatever this takes. I did it in pain, tears, near depression. I don't play with that word. I got close. And at a certain moment, something clicked. Something clicked. And within that period of time, 6 weeks period, after a prophetess lady said some things to me, and I knew it was because she was telling me everything. Boy, she could have told me what size, let's see, undershirt. Yeah, undershirt I was wearing. She could have told me. I mean, some stuff that she could not have known. And she added these things to it, and it's like, oh, my God. And within 6 weeks, 13 left, 1, 3. 31 replaced them within 6 weeks.
Praise God. Praise God.
Fact is, that woman said to me, don't weep over those you've lost. They'll work their way back. You know, about 9 of those people came back. It was great to see them. It was amazing to see them. But there was another atmosphere. So what I'm saying is, do what he says in the midst of strain and problems and pressure. Just keep going. You don't have to feel like it's going to work out. If your feelings doesn't cause God to move, you just need to do what's right. Do what's right, and God will begin to move. I don't know why he moves like that, but that's how he moves more times than not. Who knows but whether you have come to the kingdom for a time such as this? As you look back over your life, remembering the isolated events that have happened, you may be able to see that God was at work putting the pieces together to bring you to the place where you are now and to set you up now for where you need to be. You may or may not like your present state or your present situation, hear me, but it's the very best position you could have to bring about the desires of your heart. Why do you think you have desires in your heart in the first place? Why do you think you got them? Do you believe you have desires in your heart just to, delight yourself in having whatever that is you're asking for, or whoever that is you're asking for, or that position, or whatever that is you're asking for? That's not the main reason God gives you desires. God's main focus in your life is to do the things it takes for you to be conformed to the image of Jesus. That's all. All right? Whatever causes that to happen, he is going to allow that to take place. He will give you desires, and you're going to think that they were yours. He gives you the desires of your heart. Oh, you better read that right. You can read it in 2 ways, can't you? He gives you what you have desired. That's one way to read it. Another way, he puts the desire inside of you in the first place. And you say, God, if I don't have this, go there, behave like that, think this way, I think I might die. I'm desperate. And God is standing there going, it's working. And if I follow after him, following the desire, godly desire, he will give me the desires of my heart. And sometimes it looks like you're taking such a winding road to it. Such an unnecessary road to it. Disappointing road to it. And then, much of the time, when you're just about to get there, can I tell you something? Either things will get really good. You want me to go on this side? I'll go slow over here. Or they'll get really bad. And the really good stuff, you say, oh, this is cool. Just keep it right here, God. I'm having fun. And when things are really bad over here, you say, God, please stop this. Any moment now will be just fine. He's squeezing you into your new place. I have seen it happen so many times. You understand? You understand, don't you? To a new place, a new way to think, a new way to relate. There are people that need to come into your life. They're not coming until you get to this frame of mind, till you get to this belief, get to this confidence, get to this place of surrender. They won't show up. They just will not. It will not. Things won't happen right. I don't know why God moves like he does when he does that, except that we are sheep and he moves us along. I wish I could tell you the rest of this message. I can't because my time is up. But should I mess with this verse? I have to do this verse, though. This verse right here. All right. Watch this now. Parting words. Here's something I want you to think about. If you do not step up to the opportunity that God's placing in front of you, God's purpose will still prevail, but it will prevail through someone else. You don't want to hear the rest of this, though. But life for you could well diminish a little lower than it was before you said no. Should I read that again? It's going to be on the test, you know. Watch this now, it's going to be on the test. If you do not step up to this opportunity that God is... Now, listen, I don't mean, oh man, they told me I'm going to apply for this job. I'm not saying this is, I'm talking about step up to the moment where God tells you what to do. Don't shrink from it. I'm saying when you know what to do and don't do it. Y'all understand me? When you know, and knowing most of the times, you have about 75% certainty, 60, 75%, that's enough. I don't know we get 100% certainty. Very, 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 very rarely. You need that little element in there. Just hear me say, here's the general rule. If you do not step up to the opportunity, God's purpose will still prevail, but it will prevail through someone else. But life for you could well diminish. He gave 1 talent, 2 talents, preach it, 5 talents. One with 5 talents, 10 talents. One with 2 talents, 4 talents. One with 1 talent, 1 talent. Take it from him. Give it to this one over here. You don't believe me? I have to give you Bible, you Bible people. Here we go. Esther chapter 4, verse 14, first part of the verse. This is what Mordecai said to his cousin, his niece. For if you keep silent at this time, if you keep silent at this time, can you read the rest of that? Relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's house will perish. God says, I'm going to get my stuff done. It's going to get done. I want you to be there at the finish line with me. That's what he's saying. This is not a threat. He's saying, why do you want to diminish your life? Why don't you add to your life? That's what you've been praying for. You say, God, you have come that I might have life. Come on, finish it. And that I might have it. Well, you do that by making the hard choice for receiving Jesus. And after you receive Jesus, you make the hard choices that he tells you to make afterwards. And every choice that you have to make afterwards is worth it because he died for every one of those choices. And when he says, I want you to do this, you don't go, well, is there anybody else over there? Tried that on my pastor one time. He said, don't you think I thought all those thoughts before you thought them? Don't ask me if I chose somebody else. Like I can't think of picking that other person. I picked you. Like you telling me something I don't know? You think I didn't consider that person? No, you. Basically, my pastor told me one time, he said, I didn't want to pick you for this thing. He said, since you said that, I did not want to pick you for this particular job. Since you asked, you didn't have to ask. If you didn't ask, you would know that I didn't want to pick you for this. Now you know. But if I ask you, just either say yes or no. Don't ask me if there's somebody else. Because I picked you. God picked you. I don't know why he picked you, but he picked you. He didn't want to pick somebody. Oh, maybe you're the person he picked because somebody else wasn't doing their job.
Amen.
What are you going to do? I don't know why God moves, why he does. But I tell you, he comes to deliver. He will deliver with you. He will deliver without you. How about pick with him?
Amen.
Stand up on your feet. I'll tell you the rest of it next time.
Amen.
All right.